Hello and welcome to the GeoSMART how-to video series. Today we'll take a look at downloading publicly available data from GeoSMART for use in our own software. Let's get on to GeoSMART and let's scroll down past the app cards to arrive at the data library. The data library divides GeoSMART data into subject matter areas like address, boundaries, cemetery, park, etc. The links beneath each subject area will initiate a filter to return all of the items associated with the keyword label that is beneath each library item. You'll find that some layers share keywords with other data types due to the nature of the workflows associated with maintaining these data, and sometimes layers have been directly added to library items due to their participation in that subject area. For these reasons, some of the same layers will exist in the return list for different library items. Let's click on the property and ownership item to get into this subject area. A page of results appears that includes all of the data types filtered to this library item's keyword. At the top of the page, we are shown the number of records that are returned, and the results in the list will include all the data in the GeoSMART collection that utilizes this keyword or are part of this subject area. This list will include maps, apps, tables, and pre-made PDF map documents, and so on. Let's scroll down and find plat and click on that. We are brought to the data download map screen. This map allows us to set parameters on the layer that we chose from the results in the previous step, the plat feature. This map is similar to the web apps that we've looked at before, so I won't spend too much time on its layout. Simply speaking, the data download map shows tools to filter and download data in a bar on the pop-out menu towards the left. Filter, download, and add to favorites. The filter button allows us to choose attributes from the attribute table that we'd like to filter on, and the download button allows us to download data in various file types. The star brings up a login screen for ArcGIS Online. GeoSMART nor the data download requires a login on ArcGIS Online, so we can simply dismiss this message. Let's go back and filter the data. You may be familiar with the development that's occurring near the Heritage Hills subdivisions, and we would like to download those platted lots for use in our software. We can pan around the map and zoom in to that area of town, and we can click on each individual feature to get information off of that feature. On our filter data, we know that we would like to filter on the subdivision name, so let's come down on the list and choose the attribute column for subdivision name. And you notice when we do that, that subdivision name is elevated to the top of this list, and we are given a text box, and we can write our subdivision name, and you'll see that we now have a list of potential matches beneath that we can choose from. When we choose Heritage Hills Edition number 2, that immediately filters the data to this subdivision name, and you'll see how the subdivisions have been filtered to only include this subdivision. We can continue adding Heritage Hills, and we can choose the subsequent Heritage Hills subdivisions from 3 to 5. This text box is not case sensitive, so we can actually write in our search in all lowercase. And there we have it. So our data is filtered, but it's filtered only for viewing purposes. Let's go to the download utility. And you'll see at the top that our records still indicate 41,976 records. This is the entire plat data. So what we need to do is click the toggle filters slider. And that lets the system know that we intend to download only those filtered 221 records. Let's scroll down on the list and choose to download in KML format. KML is keyhole markup language, and this spatial data type can be used in such products including Google Earth, which we'll use to import the data. I'll include a link for that in the description below. You'll see that the indicator tells us that file generation is in progress. This can take a few minutes. Once the file is generated, that file will download. Just like that. And depending on what browser you're using, It will alert you when you have a completed download in different ways. Some browsers will indicate it in the top right of your screen. I know Safari will do that on Mac products. On Windows-based products, you may have a notice that's up here. But here on Microsoft Edge, it gives me a notification down here at the bottom and actually shows me the object that was downloaded. I can use this little tiny up arrow here to click the Show in Folder. If I drag that over here, we can see that indeed my data has downloaded here as a KML file. And now if I minimize GeoSMART, I can open Google Earth Pro. And let's enjoy a view of the globe. Oftentimes when you're working in Google Earth Pro, you'll use the File and Import utility to import data. However, if you notice from the dropdown that KML is not a file type that's present in the file type list, but KML data can be used inside of Google Earth. So what we'll do is just simply drag our file folder over and drag and drop our downloaded KML onto the globe. And now we can sit back and enjoy as we come into the Heritage Hills area. So right off you can see how data can be acquired from GeoSMART and then added into a separate program. And we can use our mouse to pan around, much like we did before. Our center mouse wheel is a button. If we press that, we can actually change our orientation. Or we can utilize the tools that are available in the top right of this program to do much of the same thing. If we zoom into this area, if you're familiar with Hope Street and Mercy Lane, you'll know that houses have been built in some of these lots. This is actually a good example of how geographic data, and especially with aerial photography, like that found on Google Earth, is always playing catch up with reality. If data has been collected recently, that difference can be slight. However, if collected in an area where changes are occurring rapidly, that difference can be great. At best, maps and data are simply a representation of reality, and always will be getting updates as new data arrive. Let's turn back to GeoSMART and get some other data. And we'll jump back to the data library and look in address and street for some address data. We'll scroll way down here to find address. Again, we're brought to the data download map, but for this case, it's focused on the countywide address data. Zoom in much like we did before, and at a certain scale, we'll start to see that address data populate, and we can see the addresses that are present in the Heritage Hills area. So how can we filter this? If we go to the filter data, if we scroll through the attribute column headings for address, notice that the subdivision name is not an attribute on address data. We'll have to use something different. We might know that the streets in this area are called Mercy Lane, Mercy Circle, and Hope Street. So we'll use those street labels for our filter. So in here, much like before, let's start writing Mercy, get Mercy Lane, and again for Mercy Circle, and then once again for Hope Street. And then we'll see that only those addresses that are included on those streets are now present in our view for address. And again, let's go to the download button and then click the toggle filter slider so that we are downloading only those 56 filtered records. And for this example, let's download the CSV file type. CSV is a comma delimited table that can be used in programs such as Excel, Google Drive, OpenOffice, and similar. Again, we have file generation in progress, and this can take a few minutes. And once file generation is complete, it will again download and show us inside of our browser. And here we go. And we can again use that arrow to show in folder. and we can view that download in our downloads folder. And let's go ahead and double click it and open it up in Excel. And we can see this is the attribute table that's associated with the selected addresses that we filtered. The first two fields are X and Y. These X and Y values are state plane based on the NAT83 2011 coordinate system. However, Google Earth will be looking for latitude and longitude. And if we scroll over, we can see that the attribute data has latitude and longitude available in the attribute table. These are the fields that we'll be using to import. Let's get that out of the way. And let's jump back to Google Earth. And this time we'll use the file import and find our downloaded file and click open. This screen is the data import wizard for this program. It allows you to change different parameters and indicate what data types are in the columns. However, I know that this item is delimited. It is comma delimited. And you can see on the next screen here that this program has found our latitude and longitude columns inside of the data. So we don't need to do anything else. We can click Finish. And we get a dialog asking if we'd like to apply a template to this data. And we can say no here. And the map will adjust to kind of zoom to the extent of this data, but we are not seeing it yet. So we do need to check the box in order to see those address points. Again, just like the plat feature, we can select individual points and get information just like we could in GeoSMART. But this data has now been removed from any updates from GeoSMART. We have pulled it out of GeoSMART, so it would no longer be updated. So I would recommend using data in this way for a limited time. Okay, so we got that, but we do know that there's probably some houses that have been developed here that Google Earth is not showing us. Let's jump back to GeoSMART and grab some building data. And we'll return to the data library. And from here, remember this was our address data library item. However, let's try to just do a search up here for building, and there we go. And we can be taken directly to the data download map for buildings. And you can see that indicated here. And the record number is 71,000 plus. From here, let's zoom into that area again. And as we get in close there, we'll see that the building feature is now present on the map. This time, let's use the spatial data filter. And the spatial data filter utilizes our current view to determine what features will be included in our filter. So since we just did the Heritage Hills area, maybe we can adjust our view here so that we see these buildings. Okay, and how we can filter that way, we just go here, and we're not doing a attribute filter. Instead, we're doing a filter as the map moves. It's a spatial filter. It's based on just what we can see in our view. So in order to enable that, let's toggle this slider to on, and you can see that we are now filtering that 70,000 plus records to just 30. Now when we come to our download button, we again have to click the toggle filters button, and you can see that we have our download 30 filtered records present. This time, let's try something different and download this as a shapefile. The shapefile is a spatial file format that actually includes 5 or even 6 different file types. This download will arrive as a zipped file folder. What I mean by zipped file folder is that it will be compressed, and we'll have to use either a tool in our operating system or a third-party tool to unzip that folder so we can get to the file that we can import. Again, file generation is in progress, so we'll wait a few moments while that is prepared. And there we go, our zip file, you can see here, has been downloaded. And again, let's go to Show in Folder. And let's take a look at that zip file. So you can see it's got a little tiny zipper on this folder, and that is indicating that it is a zip file, and you can see in the file type that it is a compressed zipped folder. So in order to bring this in to our program, we need to unzip it. Simply right click, and I can use extract all in this operating system. If you're on Mac or iOS, your process may be a little bit different, but it'll be very similar. And let's do extract data. And then it will show me that folder that's had with the extracted data. And you can see here's the 5 file types that make up this shapefile. Okay, let's get that, move those out of the way. And let's return to Google Earth. And let's use the import again. And this time, let's go into our folder where we unzip the shapefile. We don't see anything, and that's because the drop-down is set to text and CSV. We need to change that so that the file type can be shown. We're looking for this file type with the .shp file extension. Click on that and click Open. And no, let's not apply a style template. And again, the map will adjust to include the extent of that data, and we have to click the box in order to see it. So there we go. There we have some information, spatial information from GeoSMART applied inside of Google Earth. We can do a couple more fun things in here. See how the building footprints are kind of flat against the ground. Google Earth does have a parameter that we can set to extrude those buildings to give them some height. Right click on that building feature in the table of contents and do properties. Click the altitude tab. And let's change the clamp to ground drop down to relative to ground. And let's change our altitude. This is in meters, to say 8 meters. You can see how those shapes came off the ground and now they're floating in the air. Let's click the box to extend the sides to the ground. And there we go. And click OK. And once we click OK, then we can use the navigation tools and our mouse to kind of change our perspective, and we can get a view of what this neighborhood looks like and what it potentially could look like after further development. Okay, there you have it. We've looked at downloading data from GeoSMART and applying that data into another program on our computer. This exciting functionality can provide an interesting view of our changing landscape in a way that can be easily understood or shared with others. Enjoy finding out more about our region and using geographic data to answer questions that you may have or to give you ideas where to start a business or perhaps where you can build your new home. Remember, you can find the GeoSMART How-To playlist under the playlist section of the City of Casper's YouTube channel, where you can find all the videos in this series. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.